You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
You are listening to the Sports Talk Ministry of Excellence, which is the Lance J Radio Show. As I've been stating in the promos and been talking about on the show for the last few weeks, we are going to move beyond sports periodically and talk about issues that are highly relevant to Christian people. Many things that we have an opportunity to tackle that we haven't tackled and want to get some really strong and robust discussions going. This week, we're going to tackle a very interesting discussion, a very interesting concept that's kind of near and dear to me, considering that I live in Seattle. The individuals that I have that are going to help me discuss this are my co-hosts, really kind of co-founder of Advent Sports Network, host of One-on-One with MJ, Michael A. Jones Jr., and then introducing for the first time on my show an individual that's kind of been a producer and has helped me book a lot of appointments. She has several spots on my show for her music endeavors. She is currently the minister of music at Glenville Seventh-day Adventist Church in Cleveland, Ohio. Her brother, Jason, has been on the show. Her pastor and kind of the individual she works with, Myron Edmonds, has been on the show. Kim Bulgin, she's been a very valuable asset to Advent Sports Network. So it's great to welcome you on the show, Kim. We're going to talk about the legalization of marijuana, and from a Christian point of view, should Christians use marijuana? Is it wrong to use marijuana or any recreational drug of any type? Is it unchristian? Is it wrong? Is it detrimental, or is it similar to caffeine or many things? I know me personally, I drink a lot of Red Bull, so I'm kind of a caffeine addict. Kind of the backdrop, and I'll let Kim and Michael get into it. The backdrop, in the state of Ohio where Kim lives, there was just an issue that was voted down this week, issue 3, which was on the ballot to legalize marijuana in the state of Ohio, not just for personal use, not just for medicinal use, but for personal use. I live in the state of Washington where marijuana is completely legal. You can smoke marijuana on the street. You can carry marijuana with you. There's no ticket. There's no arrest. There's no possession. They actually have very large stores where you can get marijuana paraphernalia and the drugs itself. Many people use that particular drug for pain management. People use it to calm their nerves. There are a lot of different uses. I think the typical stereotype of someone that uses marijuana is kind of the pothead, red man, method man type person, just sits on the couch and smokes all day. So I wanted to turn it over to my co-host first, Michael. What do you think about the concept of legalizing marijuana and just how does that place in Christianity?
All right, well, first, before we really get into that part of the conversation, I do want to contend with one thing you just finished with saying, that when you think of the typical marijuana user, you think of the pothead, method man, red man type. Now, I'm going to be very, very, very honest right now. I've had a very colorful past in my youth. And in such, I've come in contact with a lot of characters. So you'd be amazed at the range of people that use marijuana.
True.
Not just that type. I'm talking lawyers, doctors, teachers, pastors. I'm not going to go as far as I want to, but I know a lot of people that work in a lot of institutions that if they started drug testing it for marijuana, they would lose their job. And I'll leave it at that. And these are highly reputable institutions, education, religious, political, you name it. So it's more widespread than we like to admit.
Right.
There's a reason it's passing popular votes in a lot of places. You know, you might not know when you talk to somebody because there's a large percentage of the population that thinks it's off limits to talk politics. But it's more widespread than we like to admit. Now,
what would you say, if I could jump in, what would you say, because I think that's a great point that I forgot to make, what would you say the percentage just on people in the day-to-day? I mean, you and I went to the same school, Michael. Kim, you didn't go to school with us, but we know a lot of the same people. What would you say the percentage of individuals?
Kim and I actually were at school together. I don't know if she remembers that, but we were at Andrews at the same time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably.
And man, even there, it's a high percentage.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's everywhere.
I don't know if I could put a number on it, like James asked, but...
That would be hard, and it would be pure speculation.
Right.
You'll never get a type of survey where everybody will just answer honestly. But if I really had to guess, I might go as high as to say 20-25% of the population will at least dabble from time to time.
So what do you think, Kim? I'll turn the question to you as someone who is a minister, someone that preaches, someone that's a minister of music and a worship leader. What do you feel about the usage of marijuana, both for recreation and for medicinal use, and within the context of being a Christian?
I think that marijuana could be or should be used for medicinal purposes, because it's a natural occurring plant. We use in our day a lot of pain medication to medicate and to take care of symptoms that are not natural and are sometimes very harmful, detrimental to our overall health, but those ones are accepted more so than natural means of medicating. So as a Christian, I mean, especially as an Adventist Christian, we push, health, we push taking care of our bodies. And I think if we're going to talk about drug use, if we're going to say that it's okay to use Vicodin but not okay to use marijuana, I think it's pretty much the same thing. You get the same result, only that one is natural and one isn't. And as far as the recreational use, though, I don't agree with it necessarily being recreational. Just like recreationally, I don't think it's wise to use drugs to alter your state just because it feels good. I think that is an indication that there's a deeper issue going on that needs to be taken care of. And as Christian, I think it would be easier to help people who have problems with drug use if they got rid of the criminal aspect of it and made it more of a sometimes mental issue. Like there's usually an underlying cause for habitual unsafe drug use, and the Christian, the minister in me I wouldn't even want to deal with the drug use immediately. I'd want to get to the root of why you even think it's necessary for you to step out of your current reality and alter your reality and get away from what's going on. Christians, we don't teach you to ignore your pain. We find ways to to endure it, to survive it, and not medicate it, which is what a lot of people are doing. And a lot of people that are in our prisons today for, drug use, I don't think that's the best place for them. I'd rather take them out of the prisons and deal with what's causing the drug use in the first place. And I think that's the Christ-like thing to do.
So, Michael, I'm about to throw the question towards you, but before I do, Kim touched on a very interesting point. So for those listening to the Lance J Radio Show, I'm talking with Michael A. Jones, my co-host, host on 101 with MJ, and talking with Minister Kim Bulgin, about the use of marijuana and the legalization of marijuana. I don't use marijuana. Michael, you've known me forever. You know that I don't drink. You know that I don't do drugs, and I've never done that. Doesn't make me any better than anyone else. It's just my personal preference. But I'm addicted to Red Bull. I drink at least 2 Red Bulls every day. I drink Mountain Dew. I drink Coke. Anything with a caffeine buzz. I live next to a Starbucks, live in Seattle. If it wasn't for Lyme disease and where I've cut my sugar intake a little bit down, I would be knocking out cups and cups of Java at Starbucks every day. What makes my addiction, I'm putting myself out there, what makes that any better than someone that uses recreational marijuana because it helps calm their nerves or it helps them to go to sleep? Michael.
Well, in terms of your addiction, honestly, I personally wouldn't call it a whole lot different. If you're at a point where you honestly think you're dependent on it, it's a problem, no matter what the substance is. You being dependent on anything for strength, survival, anything save God, in my opinion, is a problem. So addiction is addiction is addiction.
I agree, but why is the stigma? Because if I'm going and drinking a Red Bull every day, or I have to have 2 cups of coffee to wake up, why is the stigma so bad for someone that uses marijuana as a coping mechanism?
Now, if we're going to talk about stigmas, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of history right here, but most stigmas and even drug laws in this country are rooted in some sort of racism or cultural hate. Marijuana use was brought to this country mainly by the South Americans and Hispanics coming north, and they were looked down on. So the marijuana use that was associated with them was also looked down on. Opiates and heroin was looked down on. They thought the Asian people were going to seduce their white women with drugs, and that was bad. They were scared of cocaine, what they called a cocaine-crazed black man, being too powerful to stop, and that was where the first drug law in this country came from. Most of those things are rooted in, the stigmas are rooted in racial, cultural hate. But like I said, I'm not going to go into too long of a history lesson in that one. But now there's something else Kim said that I really wanted to touch on, and I agree with completely, is that if we're dealing with marijuana or anything recreational where someone's looking to alter their mental state, we shouldn't be looking to deal with that criminally or even the act itself, but rather what's driving them to feel the need to alter their state. You deal with the root, and there's no reason to go. If I deal with the symptoms, I'm just masking symptoms of any disease. I deal with the actual disease. There's no longer any need to mask symptoms. Okay. Now, as far as what Kim touched on with marijuana or Vicodin or anything else, now I'm going to go into a brief science lesson. Anything made in the lab, what you get, okay, picture, for example, the shape of what an L is. Top to bottom, line at the bottom, going from left to right. Now, any chemical, it reacts with your cells by bonding to the cell, and the shape of that chemical or element, whatever it is, determines the site on the cell it will bond to, the receptor site, and also the effects it's going to get. Now, anything that grows in nature will have the exact same shape to it, like that shape of an L, facing the same direction every time. you make it in a lab, you'll get half of them shaped that way, facing the proper way, and half of them basically being a mirror image, facing the opposite way. And that mirror image is where you get side effects from. The one shaped properly gives you a desired effect, which is what you're trying to mimic, that probably you found occurring in nature somewhere. But because you're in a lab, you're going to get half and half results, half what you want, half the opposite, and the opposite is what gives you the side effect. Every time, nothing you can do to stop it. That was something I learned in one of my organic chemistry classes as a biology major, chem minor. So that is the actual science to it. Whereas marijuana, you don't get any side effect because the active ingredients are growing in a living organism, so it's going to grow the same shape every time. If we're talking
THC, yeah.
If we're talking medicinal use, it's a far better product. And if it's legal and able to be grown in bulk, you know what happens? You can actually make edibles and things like that where it can be consumed in a more beneficial fashion rather than taking smoke into your lungs. That's what's happened if it's actual legal medicine. It's not something you have to hide and try to get the quick high. That's why people smoke. It takes less weed to get the effect. Edibles, it takes more. But if it's legal and grown in bulk like any other crop, it's a plant. It gets very affordable at that point. But that affects a lot of other people's business too. Pharmaceuticals is big money. There's a lot of politics to it as well. But we're doing a 15-minute segment. Don't let me get carried away.
I would say, to answer James' question, I think the reason why your addiction is accepted is because yours is legal. There's no stigma of, you're not going to get charged and go to jail for drinking Red Bull, but you're going to definitely
very good
if you're smoking marijuana. So that's why, in a nutshell.
So I'll kind of let you close, Kim, and that was sometimes Michael reminds me why I asked him to be on Advent Sports Network, because he'll come out of left field with something extremely well thought and well produced, and then every once in a while, when I'm talking to him off script, he'll come with something that's completely incoherent to me, but makes sense to him. So that's a very excellent portrayal, Michael. Kim, if you can give us the last word, I'm just curious, as a pastor, and we touched on this earlier, but as someone that people look to for counsel, what would you say to someone who is struggling or doesn't even think that they're struggling, but they're using drugs recreationally, they're using caffeine recreationally, alcohol, whatever controlled substance, non-controlled substance? What would you say to that person as far as how it all maps to their relationship with Christ and how those things can be a stumbling block?
I would encourage them to find whatever it is that they're trying to medicate and find that in a relationship with Jesus Christ. The Bible says that if the Son sets you free, you are truly free indeed. And I think a lot of times we find ourselves using drugs or TV or relationships, whatever it may be, to not deal with our issues. But Jesus says if we come to him, he's able to set us free from whatever it is that is plaguing us and bothering us if we just trust him. So I would encourage anybody that's struggling with any kind of drug use, any kind of addiction, to take whatever it is that their problem is, and take that to Jesus first and let him deal with what's driving you to want to ignore your pain and let him deal with it. Sometimes it may be painful, it may be difficult, because he's going to show you some things, he's going to tell you some things. But the benefits of having to overcome your pain and overcome your difficulties far outweigh covering them up or medicating them. God doesn't want us to cover up our pain. He wants us to live an abundant life, a victorious life. That's what he promises us. And that's what he wants for his children. So that's what I would encourage them to do.
Michael, yes, as a yes or no answer, do you think that marijuana should be legalized?
Yes or no answer, yes.
Kim,
Yes.
the yeses have it because I agree, and just kind of close me in. I had a terrible health experience several years ago, and they tried to pump me through as many drugs as they could get, as they get a doctor to write a prescription for. I was taking upwards of 30 pills a day, 7 or 8 different prescriptions. Some of them were very, very serious and had strong side effects. And to think that there are people that would feel that I was sinning if I were to use marijuana for medicinal purposes, but they don't have an issue with me being on Vicodin or some of these other really strong opiates is very interesting. Great dialogue. I appreciate having you both on the show. You're listening to the Lance J Radio Show at Advent Sports Network. We will be back after some of these messages. Probably I'll play the Kim Bulgin God Chose Me spot.
Arise and give God glory. This is the command of gospel artist Kimberly Bulgin. She commands everyone to give God praise in her hit single entitled Garment of Praise.
Now is the time for your garment of praise.
This song gives a bold command to praise God no matter what. Continue to praise God as you also enjoy Kimberly Bulgin's other hit single entitled God Chose Me.
God chose me.
Put on your garment of praise with gospel artist Kimberly Bulgin and experience a new level of praise and worship. Check out our download locations to purchase gospel artist Kimberly Bulgin's music. You can also find out more about Kimberly Bulgin on her website at KimberlyBulgin.com. Experience the power of God through the dynamic ministry of Kimberly Bulgin today.
Who is it you think you see? Do you know how much I make a year? I mean, even if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. Do you know what would happen if I suddenly decided to stop going into work? A business big enough that it could be listed on the NASDAQ goes belly up. Disappears. It ceases to exist without me. No, you clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.